If you are still using minoxidil to fight off hair loss, you're wasting your time because there are more effective ways to stimulate hair growth out there. This is called mechanical stimulation, and this has been proven to be able to reverse hair loss with no other intervention. The results from the new methods easily outperform minoxidil monotherapy. I'll be breaking down the latest research and explain to you just how this is possible in today's video. At the end of the video, I will reveal the newest technology to stimulate hair growth, so make sure to pay attention all the way through. If there's one innovation that's taken the hair loss community by storm over the last decade, it is microneedling. Microneedling is when you use a special device called a dermapen to create tiny punctures to the surface of the skin. You can also use the so-called derma roller. It is basically just a standard barrel on a handle with hundreds of small needles attached to the surface. When you rotate it, it creates small punctures in the skin. And I know it sounds crazy, but don't worry. These holes are not deep enough to create any kind of permanent damage. What they will do is activate a mechanism that will recruit endogenous growth factors, leading to rejuvenation of the affected area. This, of course, will affect the skin and follicles, removing scars and acne, but also regrowing new hairs in a balding area. The mechanism that is being activated is a upregulation of the WNT gene, which is the same gene that minoxidil is upregulating. For those who don't know, the WNT gene is responsible for controlling your hair growth. So that makes completely sense that if we increase WNT, we see an increase in hair growth in that respective area. I don't like the derma roller for a bunch of reasons. Mostly because it is not sterile, the holes are not precise and will create a more ripping motion in your skin, and the needles also get dull as you use them over and over and over again. This is why this is the worst but also cheapest mechanical stimulation that you can use against hair loss. There has been some studies showing the efficacy of derma rollers, and they certainly do work. The only negative is the hygiene and the performance of the derma roller after several uses. Then we have the dermapen. The dermapen is more popular than the derma roller for several reasons. First of all, you can change the cartridge with needles after each use, making sure that each needle set is completely sterile, minimizing chances of infection and also keeping the needles extremely sharp, which will of course minimize pain, while the electric motor will maximize the speed with up to 5,000 stamps a minute. Back in 2013, we got the first study on humans. It came to us out of India. The study randomly assigned a group of men to receive either 5% minoxidil only or a combination treatment consisting of the daily minoxidil plus microneedling for 6 days of the week. The men in the combination treatment applied daily minoxidil just like the men in the other group, but once a week instead of their daily minoxidil, they had a microneedling session with a 1.5 millimeter derma roller. The treatment lasted for 4 months, and this is the results. The men in the minoxidil group had an average regrowth of 22 new hairs per square centimeter in the crown area. This compared to 91 hairs per square centimeter in the combination group. So just one microneedling session a week was enough to boost the results of minoxidil by a factor of 4.1. The before and after photos of the men who took part in this study were evaluated by a dermatologist who was blinded as to the treatment. In other words, he didn't know if the photos of the men he was looking at had taken the minoxidil only or had received the combination treatment with the derma roller. 36% of the men in the minoxidil only group were rated as unchanged, and the rest were rated as showing mild improvement. But the results of the combination group were very different. Every single man in the combination group was rated as showing some degree of improvement. 20% were mild, 44% was rated as moderate improvement, and 36% was given the best possible rating for regrowth. You can see in these photos some examples of the marked improvement from the men in the combination group. Since the first study on minoxidil, we had several other studies, and they all agree that adding microneedling to a topical stimulant like minoxidil is going to drastically increase your regrowth, around 3 times as much or even more in some cases. But what we didn't know until recently is if microneedling will work on its own as a monotherapy. In other words, is it absolutely necessary that you use it in combination with a topical stimulant like minoxidil, or can you still get regrowth without a topical? We got our answer in 2020, and it came to us from China. They had a total of 71 volunteers, ages from 20 years to 60 years, stage 3 to 6 on the Norwood scale of baldness. So what I would call moderate to very aggressive hair loss. The men were randomly split into 3 groups. The first got 5% topical minoxidil only with no microneedling. The second received microneedling sessions only once every 3 weeks with a total of 8 sessions only. And the third group was the, once again, combination treatment. They got the standard daily minoxidil plus 1 microneedling session every 3 weeks. Of course, as I always tell you guys, don't use minoxidil or RU58841 the days where you're doing microneedling, and they did the exact same thing. Skipped minoxidil the day they were doing microneedling. The treatment lasted 24 weeks, which is roughly 5 months, and the participants were asked to return 6 months later for a follow-up evaluation. The primary outcome was the number of new hairs in a 1 centimeter square balding area, as you usually would see in these results compared to the first we also saw, and these are the results. Group 1, minoxidil alone had an average of 14 new hairs per square centimeter. Group 2, microneedling alone, had an average of 21 new hairs. And of course, Group 3, microneedling in combination with minoxidil, had an average of 40 new hairs per square centimeter. So, of course, the combination group had nearly, as I told before, 3 times as many hairs as the minoxidil monotherapy group, 2.8 times to be precise. Remember, the first study from 2013 had found a 4.1 times advantage for the combination treatment, but that was with weekly microneedling. Here we had a microneedling session once every 3 weeks. The key new information we got from this Chinese study were the results of the men in Group 2, microneedling alone. Remarkably, these men had 1.5 times the regrowth of the minoxidil-only group. So just 1 microneedling session every 3 weeks easily outperformed daily minoxidil alone. All of this is pretty remarkable if you think about it. What's really interesting about this study is that it also includes a 6-month follow-up period where the men had no treatments for their hair loss. After these 6 months were up, they came back for the follow-up assessment. 90% of the men who had been treated with minoxidil alone lost all their new hairs. But the men in the 2 microneedling groups had way better retention. Compared to the 90% minoxidil only who lost all their hairs, it was only 10% of these men who lost their newly formed hairs. About 70% had mild to moderate loss, and 20% retained most of their new hair. So not only is microneedling superior to minoxidil as a standalone treatment, but you don't have to fear the same things as with minoxidil alone of losing all your hairs. 20% of you guys will actually keep most of your hair, and that is if you decide to stop the treatment when you get the desired results. I used to use minoxidil when I first started my hair loss journey. But due to the greasy scalp, dandruff, and moon phase side effects, I kept researching until I realized that microneedling had a better effect than Minoxidil as a standalone therapy. In combination, they work really well, but it still leaves me with the problems of Minoxidil that I just spoke of, and then the added problems of microneedling, like the pain, risk of infection, malfunction, and the risk of my products like RU58841 and Minoxidil going systemic due to the small punctures in my skin. So what if I told you that there is a third new way to stimulate the same mechanism of action without the greasy hair from Minoxidil and the risk of infection that microneedling has? Not only that, but it is completely painless and it's actually fairly pleasant to do the procedure. I am talking about this. This is a manual scalp massager. In a study from 2016, they gave 9 men a specialized scalp massage device and had them use it for only 4 minutes a day. And after only 24 weeks, they took blood samples and measurement from them. Not only did the WNT gene get upregulated, as with both microneedling and Minoxidil, the hair thickness increased with over 10% during the 24 weeks. On top of that, genes like the IL-6, which is responsible for hair loss, also got downregulated. So it stops hair loss, it upregulates hair growth, and it makes your hair even thicker. And there's no risk of infection. You can't get the device from the study from 2016, but the company HairGuard just released their GrowBand 2.0, and I can tell you since I bought it ASAP that it is amazing. Finally, I don't have to worry about infection, pain, or that greasy scalp from Minoxidil and microneedling. I just use the band every morning while I brush my teeth and drink my coffee. Forgot to take it on at morning? Well, I'll just wearing while playing video games or emptying the dishwasher. It is easy like that. The device works by using compressed air to apply pressure to your scalp, moving your scalp in the exact same manner as they did in the study from 2016. I did a video after buying the device giving a review of it, and after my video, the company HairGuard actually reached out to me with a great deal for you guys. If you use the link in my description and apply the code Blueprint at checkout, you don't only get a $100 discount, I also managed to get them to shave another 10% off the price and include free shipping for you guys. I guarantee you can't find a better deal anywhere than this. And not only that, if you don't like the product, HairGuard is giving a full refund after 90 days, giving you enough time to test it out and see the results before you decide if you think it is worth it. Spoiler alert, I still have mine, but don't let that stop you from trying it out and see for yourself. Scalp massages are extremely effective instead of the old school mechanical stimulation, and this is why I rank them as following. 4th place is Minoxidil. It is cheaper to start up, but you have to pay every month, and if you ever stop, all the hair is gone. 3rd place is dermarolling. Cheap to start, but you have to keep switching them out often. They're not precise, you can't clean them, and you have the risk of infections. 2nd place, microneedling. A bit more expensive to start since you have to buy the machine, but more effective and way safer, although you still have to forever keep buying new cartridges and there's still the chance of infection. And therefore the 1st place goes to the scalp massage device. It is safer than all the others, it is easier, painless, no mess after using it, and you can do it anywhere you want to. The only downside is that there is a big one-time payment of $400, but you never have to buy new parts for it or anything. But I got you the sweet deal of a $100 discount, followed up by the 10% extra, free shipping, and 90 days no question asked return to the company. All of the items can be found in the description, but only the GrowBand is discounted, since I only want to support the best option out there that I use myself. And since I don't use the other ones myself, I can't support it. Keep in mind, the GrowBand is in extremely big demand at the moment, so you have to sign up for a waiting list. But HairGuard promised me that anyone using my discount code will have express service. Just remember to apply the discount code Blueprint at checkout so that you don't have to wait forever and you can get the faster service and a massive discount.